The moment you stop chasing is the moment everything changes. Right now, you might be stuck in the mindset of trying to prove something, trying to show him what he lost, trying to make him remember how good it was, trying to get him to see that you're the one he should want. But the more you try, the more he pulls away. And here's why. People don't value what's constantly available. If you're always reaching out, always responding instantly, always looking for ways to get his attention, you're sending a message that you're waiting for him, that he's the one in control. That power dynamic makes it too easy for him to take you for granted. It's not about playing games. It's about reclaiming your power. Right now, he knows you're there. He knows that if he wanted to come back, you'd say yes in a heartbeat. That security makes him comfortable. And when someone is too comfortable, they stop putting in effort. They stop feeling the urgency to act. They stop feeling the fear of losing something valuable. If you want to shift the dynamic, the first thing you have to do is step back. Not in a passive, aggressive way, not in a way that screams, "I hope you notice I'm ignoring you," but in a way that says, "I have a life that's too valuable to put on hold for someone who isn't sure about me." That's the energy that changes everything. When you stop chasing, you create space. And that space is powerful. It allows him to start wondering about you, questioning whether he made the right decision, feeling that absence in a way that makes him realize what he lost. Because here's the truth. People don't feel your presence when you're always there. They feel it when you're missing, when your name isn't popping up on his phone, when he's scrolling through his feed and not seeing anything that gives him a clue about what you're up to. When he starts to notice that you're not reacting to him anymore. That's when he starts to feel the shift. But let's be clear, this isn't just about making him miss you, it's about stepping into your own worth. If you're constantly trying to make someone see your value, you've already lost the battle. Your value isn't something you need to convince someone of. It's something you own. It's something you embody. And when you do, the right people recognize it. So instead of worrying about how to make him notice you, focus on making yourself impossible to ignore. That doesn't mean putting on a show. It means genuinely investing in yourself, in your happiness, in your growth. It means taking the energy you've been directing at him and redirecting it into your own life. Maybe that means diving into your passions again. Maybe it means spending more time with people who make you feel alive. Maybe it's about getting back into the gym, traveling, taking risks, doing things that remind you of who you are outside of this relationship. When you do that, something shifts. You go from being the person waiting to be chosen to the person who chooses. And that energy, that's magnetic. That's the energy that makes people take a second look, that makes someone wonder, wait, did I underestimate what we had? The irony is, when you stop chasing, you actually become more attractive. Not because you're manipulating the situation, but because you're stepping into your own power. And when you do that, you start seeing things differently. You stop needing external validation. You stop seeking signs that he's still interested. You stop making decisions based on what you think might get his attention. Instead, you start living in a way that naturally attracts the right kind of attention. Not just from him, but from the world around you. Think about it. Have you ever noticed that the moment you finally move on from someone, they suddenly reappear? It's not a coincidence. It's because they can feel the shift. They can sense when they no longer have a hold on you. They can tell when you're no longer waiting, and that's when they start feeling the pull. But by the time that happens, something incredible occurs. You're no longer in the same place. You're no longer operating from a place of lack. You're no longer just hoping they'll come back, because you've built something bigger, something better, something that no longer depends on their validation. And that's the real win. Not just making him regret losing you, but getting to a place where it doesn't even matter if he does. Because at that point, you're not just someone he wants back, you're someone anyone would be lucky to have. And when you see yourself that way, everything changes. There's something incredibly powerful about a person who radiates energy, who walks into a room and makes people take notice, not because they're demanding attention, but because they exude something that feels effortless, magnetic, and undeniable. And right now, after your breakup, that's exactly what you need to channel. You see, people aren't drawn to sadness. They're drawn to light. They don't gravitate towards someone who is dwelling in the past, analyzing every text, every moment, every mistake. They are drawn to someone who is actively living in the present, fully immersed in their own life. That's where your power lies. It's not in trying to make him miss you. It's in becoming the kind of person he can't ignore. Think about the version of yourself he first fell for. Was it the person who overanalyzed every little thing? Was it the person who was constantly seeking validation, who put him on a pedestal and made him the sole source of happiness? No, it was the person who had an energy that pulled him in, who was confident, who had a spark, who had their own life. And now, after the breakup, you might feel like that part of you is buried under layers of hurt, rejection, and confusion. But the good news? You get to bring it back, stronger, better, more undeniable than ever before. Right now, your focus isn't on trying to win him back. It's on rediscovering your irresistible energy, the energy that makes people stop and wonder what's different about you. And that starts with shifting your mindset. Instead of thinking, how do I make him regret leaving? Ask yourself, how do I make myself so fulfilled that I wouldn't even entertain the idea of going back to the same dynamic? Because that's when the real magic happens. The second you become the version of yourself that no longer needs him, you become the version of yourself he wants again. You need to put yourself in environments that make you feel alive. If your life has become a monotonous routine, if you're just going through the motions, of course, you're going to feel stuck in the past. Break out of that. Try something new. Meet new people. Explore new places. Do the things you've always talked about, but never actually did. The reason so many people struggle after a breakup is because they've made that relationship their world. And when it ends, they feel lost. The solution isn't to try to fill the void with another relationship. It's to fill your life with experiences that bring you genuine joy. That's what creates a shift in your energy. That's what makes you glow. And let's talk about confidence. Confidence isn't something you just decide to have. It's something you build through action. The more you do things that make you proud of yourself, the more you naturally exude confidence. When you take care of your body, when you show up for yourself, when you push past your comfort zone, when you start achieving little wins in different areas of your life, your confidence skyrockets. And when that happens, you won't have to try to attract anyone back. People will feel the shift in you. The way you carry yourself, the way you speak, the way you engage with the world, it all changes when you start valuing yourself at a higher level. You also need to be aware of the energy you're putting out. If you're constantly posting sad, cryptic messages on social media, if you're walking around with a cloud over your head, people feel that. And let me tell you something, the person who left, they're not coming back because they feel bad for you. They're coming back because they miss the version of you that was thriving. So show them subtly, effortlessly, that you are doing just that. Not because you're trying to make a point, but because you are genuinely living your best life. If that means posting a picture of you out having fun, do it. Not to prove anything, but because you are actually having fun. If that means reconnecting with friends you lost touch with, do it, because those connections bring you joy. Everything you do should be rooted in you, not in them. And here's the key. When you truly embrace this mindset, when you genuinely focus on yourself instead of waiting for someone else to validate you, something amazing happens. You stop seeing your ex as the prize. And when that happens, the whole dynamic shifts, because now instead of you wondering if they're thinking about you, they're wondering why they ever let you go. And that is the most powerful position to be in. So stop worrying about whether he'll come back. Focus on making your life so undeniably exciting, fulfilling, and full of growth that you become the person who has the final say on whether or not you even want him back. That's the real power move. Men don't respond to words, they respond to emotions. You can sit down and tell him how much you love him, how much you miss him, how much you're the perfect person for him, but none of that matters if he doesn't feel it. And I don't mean feeling sorry for you or feeling pressured. I mean feeling that deep primal fear of losing you forever, because that's what actually wakes someone up. That's what shifts the dynamic and makes him look at you differently. Right now, if you're constantly reaching out, if you're making it clear that you're still there, waiting, hoping, he doesn't have to do anything. He knows he still has access to you. He knows that if he changes his mind tomorrow, you'll be right there to pick up where you left off. And that certainty is the very thing stopping him from taking action. People only act when they fear something slipping through their fingers. Think about how we treat something we assume will always be there. We take it for granted. We assume we have all the time in the world. But the moment that thing starts to fade away, the moment it becomes scarce, that's when our instincts kick in. That's when we panic. That's when we start doing everything we can to get it back. This isn't about manipulation. It's not about playing games. It's about understanding human nature. When you break up, there's a power shift. And the person who appears to be coping better, the person who seems to be moving forward effortlessly, is the one who suddenly becomes more desirable. If you're constantly signaling to him that you're still emotionally attached, he doesn't have to worry. But if he sees you genuinely stepping into your own life without him, that's when he starts to question everything. The worst mistake people make after a breakup is keeping themselves available in subtle ways. Maybe you're still texting here and there, keeping that line of communication open just in case. Maybe you're responding to his Instagram stories or liking his posts. Maybe you're still holding on to little routines that make him feel like you're in the background of his life, waiting. But if you really want to make him second guess everything, you have to remove that safety net. Imagine he goes to check his phone and sees nothing from you, no messages, no likes, no proof that you're still invested in his life. That silence is loud. That's the moment he starts wondering, wait, why hasn't she reached out? Is she okay? Is she seeing someone? Is she over me? That moment of doubt is powerful because now, instead of assuming you're still there, he's forced to sit with the possibility that he actually lost you. And that's when he starts to feel something different. Fear. That fear of loss does something interesting to the male brain. It forces him to reevaluate. When he thought you were always going to be there, he didn't have to weigh the cost of losing you. But when he feels that distance, when he feels that void where you used to be, his mind starts racing. Suddenly, all the things he took for granted don't seem so guaranteed. And if there's even the slightest doubt that you're slipping away, his instincts will tell him to act. Now, you might be thinking, but what if he doesn't care? What if I disappear and he never comes back? That's the part that terrifies people. But listen, if a man doesn't feel anything when you're gone, then he was never going to fight for you in the first place. If he truly valued you, that distance will force him to realize it. And if it doesn't, then you've just saved yourself more wasted time on someone who never had real intentions of stepping up for you. Here's what you do instead. You show through your actions that you are living your best life. You don't need to prove anything to him. You don't need to post cryptic quotes or try to make him jealous. You just need to actually be that woman who is so deeply immersed in her own growth and happiness that he starts to wonder if he made a mistake. Maybe he sees you out, looking better than ever. Maybe he hears from a mutual friend that you're thriving, that you're traveling, that you started something new. Maybe he stumbles upon a photo of you, glowing, confident, surrounded by people, and it hits him. She's not waiting for me. That's the moment it clicks. That's when he realizes he's not the center of your world anymore. And nothing is more attractive than someone who is self-sufficient, happy, and living life on their own terms. Men don't come back because you beg. They don't come back because you explain why they should. They come back when they feel the fear of losing you. And that feeling only comes when you step out of their orbit and become your own sun. Because that's when they stop seeing you as someone they can take for granted and start seeing you as someone they have to fight for. And if they don't, then you've already won. Because the moment you truly embrace your worth, the moment you become that unstoppable, high-value woman, is the moment you stop needing him to come back at all. There's a reason subtlety is so powerful in attraction. It works because it operates under the radar. It doesn't scream for attention. It doesn't beg for validation, and yet it creates a magnetic pull that's impossible to ignore. The mistake most people make after a breakup is trying to force their way back into someone's mind. They overcompensate. They flood social media with calculated posts. They reach out with weak excuses. They linger in the background hoping for a reaction. But what they fail to realize is that true attraction doesn't come from effort that is seen. It comes from effort that is felt. When you make subtle moves, you create an air of mystery. Mystery keeps people guessing. And the moment someone starts guessing, they start engaging. It's like an itch in the back of their mind that won't go away. And when you've been in someone's life, when you've shared moments, laughter, experiences and emotions, you already have a space in their mind. Your goal is not to remind them you exist, it's to make them feel your presence without being physically there. One of the most powerful ways to do this is by showing, not telling, that you're thriving. If your life was centered around the relationship, if you were always available, if you were predictable, then your absence should be felt. Not because you're intentionally ignoring them, not because you're playing games, but because you've genuinely shifted your focus. That's the key. It has to be real. If it's manufactured, if it's just an act, people see through it. But when it's real, it's undeniable. Maybe that means you pick up something new. Maybe you start traveling, pursuing a new passion, deepening your friendships. Maybe you start making moves in your career, getting into the best shape of your life, or simply exuding an energy that says, I am fulfilled without you. This is where subtle attraction does its magic, because as much as someone might try to move on from you, when they see you living your life in a way that doesn't revolve around them, it disrupts their expectations. And disruption is what shakes people awake. Think about it. If someone expects you to be heartbroken, expects you to be waiting, expects you to be dwelling on the past, then the moment they realize they were wrong, they start questioning everything. Was I not as important to them as I thought? Did they move on faster than I did? Why do they seem so much happier without me? Those thoughts are what makes someone re-engage with the idea of you. And when those thoughts take root, they start looking for signs, looking for clues, looking for you, but you're no longer where they left you. The beauty of subtle attraction is that you don't have to be the one reaching out. You don't have to be the one chasing. Instead, you become the one being watched. That's the shift in power. And it doesn't take grand gestures. Sometimes it's as simple as a well-placed photo, a passing comment from a mutual friend, or a brief encounter where you exude confidence and lightness, where you seem genuinely happy without them. That's what makes someone rethink. That's what makes someone wonder if they made the right decision, because suddenly the person they thought they knew is different. And nothing is more intriguing than someone who grows in your absence. But here's the crucial part. You're not doing this for them. You're not growing, evolving, or becoming your best self to win someone back. You're doing it because that's the path you should be on anyway. When you do it with the right mindset, the outcome doesn't even matter, because whether they come back or not, you win. You win by becoming stronger, more confident, and more magnetic than ever before. And when that happens, you don't just attract one person back. You attract the world. The biggest mistake people make after a breakup is thinking they need to change to win someone back. They start asking themselves, what did they want that I didn't have? Or how can I become the person they desire? But the truth is, the moment you shape yourself to fit someone else's idea of perfection, you lose the very thing that makes you attractive, your authenticity. Real attraction isn't about morphing into what you think someone else wants. It's about stepping into the best version of you for you. And when you do that, something incredible happens. People start noticing. They feel the shift in your energy, the confidence in your step, the way you move through the world without needing validation. That's what makes someone sit up and think, wait, did I make a mistake? See, after a breakup, you're at a crossroads. One path leads to desperation, trying to prove your worth to someone who walked away. The other path leads to transformation, not because you need to be better for them, but because you owe it to yourself to evolve. The key is making that transformation not from a place of lack, but from a place of abundance. When you approach life with the mindset that you are already enough, but are constantly striving to expand, you create a force that is impossible to ignore. Think about it. When someone breaks up with you, what's the natural response? You feel rejected, maybe even unworthy. And in that moment, you either spiral into a loop of self-doubt, wondering why you weren't enough, or you take that pain and turn it into fuel. But let me tell you something important. It is not about making him regret leaving you. It is about making sure you never regret the way you showed up for yourself after he did. That's the difference between someone who stays stuck in the past and someone who commands their future. Imagine this. Instead of waiting for him to call, you start putting your energy into your passions. Instead of looking at your phone, hoping for a text, you're out experiencing life, making new connections, rediscovering what excites you. Instead of replaying conversations in your head, wondering what you could have said differently, you're learning something new, developing a skill that makes you feel powerful and capable. The shift is subtle, but it's everything. You go from being someone who's stuck in the narrative of the past to someone who is writing a new story entirely, and that is power. When someone sees you thriving, it triggers something deep inside them. It makes them question everything. They remember the comfort of having you there, and suddenly that comfort is gone. But more than that, they see something they didn't see before, your value shining through in a way that is undeniable. They don't just see what they lost, they see what someone else could gain. And that's when everything changes. Now, let me be clear. This isn't about pretending to be happy. It's not about faking growth or using success as a weapon. Because the truth is, you can't cheat this process. You have to become the person you're portraying, not just act like it in the hopes that he'll notice. If your motivation is solely to get his attention, you'll always be at his mercy. But if your motivation is to live a life so full and fulfilling that you wouldn't even consider going back to someone who didn't see your worth the first time, then you're truly winning. There is something deeply attractive about someone who doesn't need you, but chooses you. And the most powerful position you can be in is one where your happiness is not dependent on whether someone comes back. Because here's the thing, when you truly step into your own, when you build yourself into someone who is radiating confidence, joy, and purpose, you might find that the version of you who wanted him back isn't even you anymore. And that's the irony of it all. The more you grow, the less you chase and the more you attract, not just him, but the right kind of people. People who see you, respect you, and want to be a part of the life you're building. Not because you need them there, but because they recognize what a privilege it is to be close to someone like you. So, if you're sitting there wondering how to make him regret leaving, how to make him come crawling back, the answer isn't in games or tactics. The answer is in the way you rebuild, in the way you rise. And when you do that, trust me, the people who let you go will always look back, but by then you might just be too far ahead for it to matter. The ultimate power move isn't about playing games, making him jealous, or waiting for the perfect moment to craft that one text you think will change everything. It's about something far more powerful, being ready to walk away for good. Not as a strategy, not as a bluff, but as a genuine decision to prioritize yourself over the chase. Because the moment you can truly let go, that's when the power shifts. That's when he realizes what he had, and more importantly, what he lost. Most people make the mistake of thinking that the way to get someone back is to convince them, to plead their case, to highlight all the reasons why things should work out. But here's the truth. Attraction isn't built through logical reasoning. No one ever came back because they were handed a bullet-pointed list of why the relationship was amazing. No one ever begged to be with someone because they were persuaded, like it was a courtroom argument. Attraction, desire, longing, those things are emotional. And nothing triggers them more than the possibility of losing something forever. But here's the key. If you're still hoping that walking away will bring him back, you haven't actually walked away. You're still in the game. You're still holding on. And that energy, he can feel it. People can sense when they are being used as a pawn in someone else's emotional strategy. That's why walking away has to be real. It has to be a decision that comes from a place of knowing your worth, not from a place of hoping for a reaction. When you truly walk away, you're no longer waiting by the phone. You're no longer structuring your days around the possibility that he might reach out. You're no longer checking his social media for clues about whether he misses you. You're simply living, and that shift in energy, it's magnetic. It's the difference between being someone he takes for granted and someone he suddenly realizes he can't replace. But I know what you're thinking. What if he doesn't come back? What if walking away means losing him forever? And the answer is simple. If he doesn't come back, he was never meant to be there in the first place. If the only thing keeping someone in your life is your effort to hold on to them, that's not a relationship. It's a hostage situation. You don't want a love that exists because you constantly remind someone why they should be there. You want a love that is chosen freely every single day. The irony is, when you reach this point of truly letting go, that's when he feels it. Because when you stop chasing, it forces him to confront what life actually looks like without you in it. Not the version where he thinks you're still lingering in the background, waiting for him to change his mind, but the version where you've actually moved forward. That's the moment where he feels the weight of his choices. That's when he questions everything. But here's the trick. You can't fake this. If you walk away while still secretly hoping for a reaction, it won't work. It only works when you genuinely accept that your life is better spent focusing on yourself rather than waiting for someone else to make up their mind. That's when you step into your true power. That's when you stop operating from fear, the fear of being alone, the fear of not being wanted, the fear of losing something that was already slipping through your fingers. Walking away isn't about slamming doors, making dramatic exits, or proving a point. It's about a quiet, confident decision to no longer invest in someone who isn't investing in you. It's about saying, I trust myself enough to know that if this isn't meant for me, something better will be. That energy is intoxicating. It's the energy of someone who doesn't just want love, but demands the right kind of love. And the truth is, the person who values you the most is the one who realizes that you don't need them. That's what makes someone step up. That's what makes them see you differently, because when someone feels like you're a constant, like you'll always be there no matter what they do, they stop feeling the urgency to act. They assume they have all the time in the world. But when they feel the genuine possibility that you are moving on, that's when they start to question if they made a mistake. Not because you played a game, not because you manipulated them into missing you, but because they were given the space to actually feel your absence. And let's be clear, not just the absence of someone who wants them, but the absence of someone who brought real value into their life. If you were kind, if you were supportive, if you made their life better in ways they only now realize, that's when regret sets in. That's when they start to wonder if they let go of something rare. And maybe they come back, maybe they don't, but by the time they figure it out, you might already be gone. You might already be so deep into your own journey, your own happiness, that their return doesn't even matter anymore. That's the real win, not getting him back, but getting you back. And when you reach that point, you'll see that the most powerful move was never about making him beg. It was about knowing you never had to.